Here's a little story. I'd done a series of little stories by the campfire while I was up here at Chuck Swan. And this is another one. This one takes place at Lost Creek Cemetery. The history of how I found it and some of the history about it. Now this old place is located in Union County, Tennessee, Sharps Chapel. There's so much history here, so much mystery, but it's still a beautiful place. So I'm going to share another little story with you of Lost Creek Cemetery. Welcome, friend. Welcome to Donnie Law's East Tennessee Outdoors. Well, I thought I'd share a little story with you while I'm over here at Chuck Swan doing a little hunting here by the campfire. Now, a lot of you have already seen my video, and some of you haven't. There's Lost Creek Cemetery here at Chuck Swan. This cemetery goes back to 1812. Earlier than that, I think. I think a lot of Cherokee are buried here, back before the settlers come in here. It's a big old graveyard. They probably, unknown, they say there's at least 500 buried in this old graveyard, but I would say there's more than that, because I've been all around the perimeter of it, scouting around. And the old Vinca has took over, and nobody's been buried in here in a long time. And you can see there's so many old graves here, pioneers, Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Civil War is buried here. A lot of veterans buried here. And a lot of babies. I see so many little baby graves. And the sad thing is, most of these graves are just marked with a little rock, or a headstone is a rock. And some don't have nothing on them at all, just sunken places in the ground. Now, I found this place 40 years ago. I was hunting across the lake with some friends, squirrel hunting. And they said, well, Donnie, you want to go to Chuck Swan in the morning? I said, yeah, take me across the lake and let me out. But where do you want to go? I don't really know where to go. Don't know nothing about this area. Well, he said, well, you go over here on this point, and you go up that point, and you'll hit the woods there, and you'll see some good squirrel hunting. I said, okay, that's fine. So there before daylight, they let me out on that boat, on that point, and I eased up through there, and I kept watching it as the sun kept coming up and kind of getting lighter through the trees. I noticed a squirrel riding through the trees. I was trying to pick my shot at it, and I noticed I'd stepped in a big old hole. I was down a foot in a hole in one of my legs. And I watched that squirrel and went ahead and shot him out and got that squirrel. Well, I got to looking around me where I was at, what I'd stepped in. I'd stepped in an old grave. Went from almost to my knees down in it. Now, you talk about a chilly feeling there about daylight. That was a weird feeling. But this old graveyard, it's in a beautiful place, but it's so isolated. When they built this lake, they cut this community in two, and it's just, these are the pioneers that started this place. The Sharps, and the Whites, the Hills, all kinds of names, families here. They come down the river when they settled this country, down to Clint, and settled it. And somewhere around here that I've not been able to find in 40 years, it's not at this cemetery, it's off in one of these bridges here next to the lake. There is a marker that I'd walked into that where a family had been killed by the Native Americans, the Cherokee, back when they settled this country. A whole family was killed. And they dedicated a marker there to that family, the White family. And I've never been able to find it since. I've looked for 40 years, and I don't know if I walked right by it or not in the right place, but I have never been able to find it. Now, this old cemetery is so beautiful, but it's so mysterious. You never hear no songbirds here. It's just dead quiet. You'll hear the whisper of the wind through the trees, but that's about it. So, hope you enjoyed that little story. And I thank you for listening. And I'll see you next time.